Welcome to Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
Man, I was at the gym fucking updating my Wii for probably 3 hours, and then to top it all off, the biggest problem I had was my fucking Nintendo Network ID thing, which I thought I already had with my 3DS. I was clearly wrong after about 40 minutes of trying this.
Oh, was it one of those things you thought you had all these points? But, well, first off, we should
I have all the points, but I thought those counts were the same thing. They're not.
Oh. Well, we should reiterate real quick, because you can't, in case this is people's first time listening, you can't get Wi-Fi where you live, and there's Wi-Fi at the gym. So.
Well, yeah, that's why I was there. But just like the update, well, and that makes it worse. If you're at your own home and you're having like problems like updating things, it's like whatever, you're at your house. When you're somewhere else, it's just like, I need to get this fucking done. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm fucking sick and tired of this. I can't sit down on a comfy couch and do this.
No, that does happen. That does happen. Just
you're like, why is this not working? And then I finally figured it out. It's like, oh, okay. Finally. My club ID, I don't enter that till way later.
It's one of those things, kind of like, you almost get that, I don't know, just that like, almost kind of like, I guess that like angry mongoloid rage, like, there's no real, there's no real logical explanation for it. It just kind of comes on. You just, gotta wait for it to pass generally.
Well, the main thing too, it's like, I want those Club Nintendo points. That's why I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because before with Nintendo, you just had to take your serial number from your system, type it in, and be like, okay, there you go, 150 points or whatever. So I remember, like, when we were kids, there was the biggest scam. It's just like, well, dude, are you going to go buy a Game Boy SP right away? Well, or I guess it was Game Boy Micro. It's like, well, no, man, I'm not going to buy a Game Boy Micro. I don't have an SP yet. He's like, well, yeah, dude, just go to the store, and if you can see the fucking serial number, write that down, then you can type it in on Club Nintendo and get the points.
Oh.
This is probably why they made it so you
scamming the system.
Yeah. All you had to do is see the serial number.
I almost just imagine kind of like a lot of 30s kids. Like, there's one with a baller's cap, one with kind of like, like a hat, like he works at like, kind of like like a paper boy or something like that. One kid with overalls, kind of, just the troll-making kids, like, hey, she gonna scam Nintendo points, yeah,
Well, we used to have another scam, too, where we would go into Blockbuster, and you would bust open, like, the case to a game you didn't have that was a Nintendo game. Mm-hmm. And you guys, they always left the booklets and all the stuff in there.
Yeah.
And you'd pull out the thing, and then you'd like be writing down the numbers and stuff. I mean, nowadays it'd be easier because you could break it open and you could just start like looking like you're texting. But back then it's like you whip out a notepad, write them down really quickly. Like, we got the code, let's get out of here.
I'm almost kind of, as you're explaining this, I'm almost getting kind of like this kind of like Goodfellas style montage of like your flashback is your childhood, maybe some like nice 30s music's playing, like, yeah, we had that whole Blockbuster scam, like, get it, Paulie, like, distract them, you see like kids writing it down. I just kind of really like some kind of like really Martin Scorsese shot style montage of that.
Yeah, it was good times. Because I remember the first time that Nintendo put their Club Nintendo thing up, all you had to do was register 3 games. And you got the Zelda 4-pack for GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
That was 3 games. And it was like one of those ones, like, most likely you already had 2 of them.
I should probably set the thing up. I have, like, a bunch of Nintendo products, but I've never tried that.
Because you get all kinds of free games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bunch of free posters.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get free... They had all kinds of crap you can get. But now they let you get, like, free games, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah.
They just give you a download code, and you download it.
I'm actually starting to feel kind of like an old man when it comes to video games, because before, it's like, eventually, like 2 generations ago, I had the GameCube, the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and now it's kind of at that point where it's like, oh, I might have 2 of them. We'll see. And even if I get one of them, it depends on, I'm not sure if it's like, one of those things, if it's just kind of like now when you get older, you get bills and all that, so you can't spend as much money. Or if it's just like, if I'm just kind of like losing my interest, because now I'm kind of juggling Xbox One or PlayStation 4, but
Yeah, for me it's like, I still gotta get PS3 because you can't play PlayStation 3 games on PS4, so it's just
I figured I'd probably like download the games, because I do really want to get Metal Gear. The one thing making me aim a little bit more.
It's like, I don't own a PS3 anyway, so no matter what, I should get it for the collection.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll just buy one.
I guess for me, it's kind of one of those things, like, I could spend...
Well, I think there's also, since you don't really have the collection, it's not as big a deal.
Yeah,
I got every Sega, and I got every Nintendo, and I got almost every PlayStation, and Xbox, and other things in between, Neo Geos. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, it's like I gotta have it for the collection.
You got kind of like a museum going.
I know.
You have like 3 Dreamcasts.
I got 4, actually.
One's a shell.
Well,
Isn't one just a shell?
Well, my first Dreamcast...
How did it even get there, anyway?
my first Dreamcast broke, and then a friend wanted to take the Dreamcast and like modify it or whatever. I'm like, well, whatever, fuck it. I'm gonna get another Dreamcast anyway. So
Did he actually modify when he did anything?
they put a bigger fan in it. Never really got it running exactly well.
Is this Cass?
Yeah.
I figured. Yeah.
You know. Nah, yeah.
He one time.
Who else do you know that would go take the time and effort to modify something?
I love that guy, but that dude is totally one of those people. Like he's almost a meth head, but he's totally clean. He comes up with these weird projects and he puts together these weird little things that he seems like he kind of goes totally out of his way for, but
For like small purposes, but they're
for very small, like these grandiose things he does. Like he does all this shit to his like I don't know. At one point in time,
put fans on the back of his baseball cap.
Yeah, exactly. And totally clean. The dude's totally sober, totally clean. He just
when he
needs
put those
things
fans on the back of his hat, it was hilarious though, because like we went down to the Modesto Mall when we were kids, probably about 12, 13 years old, and he put computer fans, so they're just two black boxes on the back of his ball cap, and we're walking around with walkie-talkies, once again pre kind of like kids with cell phones, and we're going down the escalator.
Is this like right
past
after
Suncoast?
This has to be like right after 9/11 too, if I had to guess. Maybe right a little before.
Yeah, probably right after 9/11. GameCube era. And we're going down the escalator, and all of a sudden, there's about 2 or 3 security guards that come down the bottom. And at the top of the escalator, 3 more are coming down after us. Keep in mind, we're like 12 years old, too. And the guy, he looks at it. He's like, son, what is on your hat there? He's like, oh, they're fans or whatever. And he's showing them. He's like, look, they turn on, cool you down or whatever. The guy's like, oh, that's pretty cool, huh? And I remember we had this joke afterwards where it's just like the security's look, it's like, what's this button do? Oh, you don't want to press that one. God forbid you press that.
Like, it is Modesto, so it's pretty fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we see it. We live in Modesto. We get it,
We're security guards. We're late.
Yeah. No, every so often I want to have a side like he like wanted to jailbreak my phone one time, like, I'll do all this shit to your phone. When he jailbroke it, it had a couple extra apps on it, but those apps didn't do a fucking thing, so I sometimes don't understand some of the stuff that people
Probably
go
you get add stuff to it.
What? You get I don't know. They haven't added a whole lot. The only thing it added was like the little like
No, you would have to add it though.
Oh yeah. Well, we said it should be able to do this, couldn't do none of that, like none of this stuff, but it was a few years back, but whatever. Aside from that, have you actually, random question, have you seen that show Space Dandy yet?
Who?
Space Dandy, have you seen it?
I don't watch TV.
Alright, well, it's pretty much the new show from the guy that made Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, cool.
I
heard about this.
Now, it's one of those things
Does it actually come on TV, though?
It's actually the first anime ever. They've been airing it in America before Japan by, like, one day.
What do they play on?
They play on Toonami, Toonami Adult Swim, like, I don't know what time. I always miss it. I'm never there to see it, so I've actually been going online and just downloading the episodes. I've been buying the episodes on iTunes, and,
doesn't it get expensive?
It's like...
Isn't it like $1.99 or $2.99?
$2, yeah, like $2 an episode or something.
That's what I think is I look at that and go like, man, if you have to buy like, 24 episodes, that's like 3 times.
I don't think I'm gonna buy all of them. I just kind of like bought the first. I was behind, so I bought the first couple just to see where the show was going. I just might wait till it comes out on DVD or something like that. I bought like the first 5 episodes.
So I'm asking, you think they charge? I mean, I know they probably look at it like, okay, but if we're charging $1 for a song, which is still pretty expensive, they're like, well, we gotta charge at least like $2 for a movie. But I always kind of look at it just like, or for an episode, it's just kind of like, well, really? It's like,
well, it's like I think it's like $1. It's like $3, like $2.99 for like the dubbed episode, and like $2 for like the subtitled episodes.
That's weird. A lot of times too, they do think too, they'll charge you more for the HD version. It's just like, come on, really?
Yeah. Well, it's. I mean, I know it's kind of a rip off. I just know I'm never home whenever the show's on, and our DVR's all fucked up. So yeah. But and I'm not, and I'm one of those people. If I go out to like, first off, I'm one of those people when I go out into public and use Wi-Fi, because as we said earlier, it's hard to get Wi-Fi in certain areas. You think where I live, we'd be able to get Wi-Fi, but it's like, well, we get
internet.
Internet, yeah, yeah.
Wi-Fi's not the same thing.
Oh, yeah, internet, whatever. Well, good internet, high-speed internet, but all we get is like all we can get here is like really shitty satellite internet that costs a lot.
Satellite's like the worst. It's like...
Yeah, so. But anyway, and if I'm gonna go out somewhere with Wi-Fi and watch something, I don't know. I just don't like being that guy. If I'm out using Wi-Fi in a public place,
it's always just like when you see that person. I mean, like nothing wrong with that person, but you sort of see it's just like, don't you got anything better to do than watch TV, like, in public?
I guess my thing is, like, you know, I like to, like, work on the animations or the comics or anything or something like that and listen to Spotify or a podcast while I do it. That's generally the idea. But, aside from that, though, it would just be weird watching this show in public because it is one of those shows, like, I think Cowboy Bebop, it's one of those shows you can just kind of hop in. I mean, you don't really need to like anime to like that show.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I think the weirdest thing for people who don't,
Ed.
yeah, the weirdest thing for people to get over would be Ed if you don't like anime. But generally beyond that, if you like anything from kung fu movies to westerns to action to noir films to science fiction, if you like any of those things, I think you jump on a Cowboy Bebop. This one,
Not so
even
much.
though I like it, this definitely is like a lot weirder because it's kind of where Bebop was like more like 70% like serious, 30% comedy. This one's like the opposite. It's like really every show, Shiriko Watanabe, whatever his name is, every show he makes, it seems to be some kind of like parallel opposite of one another. Because when you think back on Samurai Champloo, for instance, that show, it was like, 'cause Bebop, that's set in the future, but it has kind of a retro vibe to it. All the characters seem kind of old soul.
Yeah.
When you watch Samurai Champloo, it's set like in the past, yet it's kind of
modern music.
Modern music, like the characters kind of modern attitudes are kind of like young soul characters more than anything. At least I got that vibe from him. This show, it's not like exactly like that, but it has definitely kind of like well, first off, the money they use is Wulongs, and it still is kind of off a bounty hunting type premises. Pretty much, the guy's name is Dandy. Has this pompadour. He's kind of a dumbass. It's kind of like takes like a lot from Buck Rogers and like
Flash Gordon.
what?
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has kind of inspirations from that you can see. Him, his robot named QT, and then a cat and like a cat alien called Meow. That's not his real name. When he first says his name, he says like in his cat language, like meow meow. He's like, we don't understand. We'll just call you Meow. It's like, oh come on, it's a fucking common name. But anyway, so from there, it almost seems kind of like I don't know, the immigration, like what's the immigration department of the United States called? The immigration what?
No.
Forgot what it's called. The whatever it is. The INS, not INS. What is it? Whatever it's called. Well, it seems almost it's kind of like a poster. Like this almost seems like some poster child for that because there's unregistered aliens, like alien races that no one's really seen before. So what he does is he goes out, he hunts them, and he registers them.
Oh, okay. So it's like
It's kind of like Cowboy Bebop in a sense.
No, not like Cowboy Bebop, but Blade Runner sort of.
Kind of like Blade Runner in a sense. It's not like, well, the thing is, it's not like, oh, it's a wild. It could range from, oh look, there's a wild alien out here in this uncharted alien planet, to being like, look, there's an alien at the end of the bar over there. Let's fucking tackle it and like take it in, you know?
So it's like Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's kind of like Blade Runner in that sense. Yeah. But anyway,
What episode is that thing on so far?
what? I think they're up on episode 6 or 7 or something. And for a while, it's really weird because sometimes the episodes could end, like, with everybody dying. Next episode carries on like nothing ever happened. And I'm kind of wondering if they're going to, like, do, like, a come-around kind of thing. Because Cowboy Bebop, for instance, they had this whole story with little bits of the story, with little, like, snippets of, like, what was that about? Then by the time you get to the end, you're like, oh, it all adds up. So I'm wondering if they're going to have something like that, like maybe later episodes will flash back showing how they got out of it, or if there's some kind of like supernatural thing that brings them back they explain later. Like, you know, South Park, like Kenny, how they eventually explained out why he keeps coming back to life.
Dying and coming back to life.
Or if it's just something they're just going to brush off and never come back to, which, whatever.
What time does this come on TV at? Saturdays?
Saturdays, like, late at night, like 11 something. And so far it's doing the Bebop thing where it's not like a continual thing. Like, you know, first episode they meet the cat character, Meow. And then from there, it's just been kind of going on its own thing. There's also this, it's very fucking weird. There's also this evil, because the narrator actually kind of chimes in. They sometimes break the fourth wall. Like the first episode, like you know, the narrator, he's all saying like, he's kind of giving the exposition, like, there's a giant galactic war going on between the Gogol Empire and this group over here, and you see this big giant space battle going on But we're not focusing on that today. Kind of zooms out and just shows the main character's ship just fly by. You know? Then at some point he says like his job is to go around and register aliens. And they show him like different aliens like in like a collage, like that one and that one, whatever the hell that is. That one over there. Like, okay, I'm done. You know.
So it's more like, is it more a comedy than anything?
It's more comedy than anything. I mean, it's still worthwhile. The animation's beautiful. The music's cool, but it definitely is. You do see a little bit of Cowboy Bebopness in it, but it is definitely a lot. It is definitely really odd. The other thing about it, here's the thing that just makes it awkward, because I feel like you could almost like, you know, show anybody Cowboy Bebop. This is the thing. One of the ultimate thing that makes me, I don't think you can show just anybody this show is. One of his goals is there's this restaurant he stops at. He stops at every restaurant he comes across in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And the restaurant's called Boobies. Uh-huh. And it's basically like Hooters on crack.
Huh.
It's like just like this very elaborate, huge Hooters franchise. It kind of that he goes from goes from restaurant to restaurant and goes so, and he's you know, it's totally kind of like the guy's a total dumbass. He looks kind of like
you don't want to be that guy who like somebody looks here like, oh, there's another guy, there's fucking nerd there looking at like porn on his internet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, hello.
Exactly. So there's one episode where they actually go after a tit monster. So.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones when I heard about it, I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome. I gotta check that out. But I'll probably wait till it's on season set.
There's actually like there's an episode that there's this it can't be the Halloween episode. I'm so used to just getting animes a year later, and so I'm like, oh, this must have been the Halloween episode. But no, this is just a random episode, I guess. There's this episode where everyone becomes a zombie, and I know that we're all kind of like. Zombies are getting a little tired out. But this episode was actually pretty funny.
Well, zombies can still be good. It's just there is that kind of like, how much more can we pull from this?
And pretty much it just makes a giant homage to George. The episode even ends with like, written and directed by George A. Romero. The episode ends with that.
That's
like,
badass.
Yeah, but there's a part where it makes a lot of references to, you know, like Dawn of the Dead and all that throughout it. But you've even noticed references to things like Star Wars and all that just from like shots. Like there's a part, like the most recent episode, there's a part where an alien was like mimicking like a Tusken Raider, like that shot, the way it looked, just like that. So they make little references through science fiction throughout it. But anyway, there's a part where like he's like the zombie that bit them is groaning to the main characters, explaining the situation to them. And it says, and the translator says like, to you and me, it may sound like just normal groans, but I am actually very fluent in Zombinese. Allow me to translate. They're just going, it's like, being a zombie's not that bad. What do you mean? Well, just...
So this guy did like a little announcement over it.
Yeah, the narrator's like kind of like, doing, just narrating over the thing, so... It has this narrator's narrating over the thing. It's
the narrator is narrating over the thing.
It's a little late, and this is one of the only times I've really done the podcast induced with alcohol, so...
You're just like,
bear with
book
me.
Love. Drink it down.
Yeah, it is kind
Fuck
of.
life.
It is a fuck life kind of day.
Give me some Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
Spray it on my face.
With Coke Zero. Yeah.
Coke
Gotta be a little healthy.
Don't add too many calories to it.
To go down the Captain Morgan's. No. That was your Kickstarter, by the way.
You know, it's kind of like the healthy Mountain Dew.
Healthy Mountain Dew.
You didn't think they could do that, but I'm not saying it's the most healthiest drink, but you look at the ingredients like, well,
I saw high fructose corn syrup and that automatically scared me.
Yeah, they have that, but there's not very much of it in there, though.
All right.
I don't know. It's kind of like, it's sort of like a poor man's energy drink because you can get like, at 7-Eleven, you can get 3 of them for like under $3, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like we didn't plan this one out. Just fucking get rid of it.
Yeah, just like, so they definitely are cheaper, but...
We thought they'd be grabbing at it, but apparently they don't give a shit, so...
But it's better than a soda.
Yeah, it's better than a soda.
It's got less sugar than that and everything, so it's like, yeah, tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
Got the energy kick. But, I don't know.
Yeah, so definitely check that show out when you can. It's funny.
You know what I finally watched the other day?
What'd you watch?
This goes back to another podcast we were talking about, but I finally saw the one with Jet Li.
Yo, you finally saw the one,
After like 15 years that movie being out or whatever. Maybe not that long.
Was I right, though? If you remember what I was saying on the podcast?
You mean about being kind of like, it's totally made for like a 12-year-old kid
12 to 14,
with life.
Yeah, with a lot of like industrial, kind of like late
and
90s.
who really liked the Matrix a lot.
Yeah, the sad thing is, I feel partially kind of. I mean, I'm not really a superstitious person, but that can play back in some ways because when I was like a 14-year-old kid cranked out on Mountain Dew watching that movie, I was just like, man, the guy directing this should direct the Dragon Ball Z movie, because that's right when they said Dragon Ball Z movie was going to be made. Sure enough, that guy did direct it like 8 years later, and
you fucking guessed it.
And
it wasn't what it was supposed to be.
No. I mean, I'll like kind of like talking shit on the one aside. I did enjoy it, but
well, the one I will say though, I liked the movie though. Like, it was one of those movies. I'm not saying it was like an amazing movie, but like I enjoyed it. It reminds me kind of like it's a fun movie.
Yeah,
it's
fun.
Not necessarily like like the grandest like martial arts one, but it's also different at the same time. Like, I do watch it, I kind of go. I mean, you can see where it's inspired from, but it's like I've never seen a movie like that though.
I think the biggest thing about it, I mean, it's kind of sad. This is the thing that could bring it down, but I think more than anything, the soundtrack is kind of automatically what.
You know what's strange enough though? That soundtrack works for that movie. It's not like a Daredevil where, because like the one thing I love Daredevil the movie, but the one thing I always see every single time I watch is like the soundtrack totally just
takes Evanescence soundtrack.
Well, it's we all know that movie's 2004, and it will always be 2004. Well, the one, it's like whatever. It's like that movie knows it's 2001. It's like that's fine though. It's supposed to be 2001 movie, and I kind of like that. And sort of like with other Jet Li movies, I like actually kind of the music they have in them.
It really.
You sort of watch them at first, you're like, oh, that's kind of corny. Why do they use music like that? But when you get older and you go back, it's like, even if it's like songs you don't care about that much, you look back and you're like, well, yeah, but that's a fucking time in a capsule right there, man.
Well, for instance,
let the bodies hit the floor.
Or like Cradle to the Grave when he's in the cage fight, like click, click, pull. It's all like playing in the cage fight.
It definitely takes you back there, and you almost kind of go, even though you think it's dumb at first, like when you get older, you're like, you know what? That sort of makes it. It makes it a little special.
I still own that movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, as flawed as that movie is, and as silly as it is, it's an enjoyable movie. I'm looking at it right now on my DVD rack, but
well, yeah, it's definitely it's not even close to being anywhere near one of the best Jet Li movies, and even in that category. But I enjoyed it, and it's different.
And even the things that are like the whole thing, like how it ends with Papa Roach, like
oh yeah,
like as soon as like that one guy goes to punch him, he socks him. As soon as he socks him, just the song kicks in. Like,
that one's like, "This is my last resort." Intimidation in bedroom. and then like I like
if the song's about to end, like a lightning bolt hits the screen.
You know what I was surprised? I don't think that movie had Power Man 5000, which I'm like, who the fuck didn't give Power Man 5000 a call?
You feel cheated.
Like, they're the guy. You know, mostly when you think those guys like or think music for movies like that, it's like they're always the first one in line.
Well, Power Man 5000 was like a headliner on the soundtrack to Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, they're like, fucking put us in there.
Right behind Crush 40.
I love that band. They make great songs. I don't know what more than about 6 of their songs from Sonic the Hedgehog, but I like all 6 of those.
They have a couple that are just kind of like, really? But whatever. I mean, they're one of those things. They're more like, for me, they're one of those bands of time capsule. I mean, they got some catchy stuff, but it is one of those things.
Well, I really like their Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. I like their earlier stuff, though, because they kind of started out like a grunge band.
Shit like Sonic Adventure.
Sonic Adventure 1.
Yeah. But some of those bands, I want to say this, like, some bands, a lot of those bands, like, for instance, like a band like Papa Roach.
Well, Papa Roach is one of those things like...
They seem kind of like they went in and they said, like, all right, I got it. Like, they were trying to put a band together. Like, I got it. Teenage angst. You know, that's good. That's a good thing to start off. We'll like start at teenage angst. You know, like Alice Cooper did it. Marilyn Manson did it. They eventually evolved and did other things. No. We stay there. We stay there. There will always be a pissy, whiny 14-year-old kid.
Mountain Dew's not going that way anytime soon.
Yeah. So
as long as there's a kid out there who's willing to drink a Mountain Dew and get on his bicycle, Papa Roach can live.
And wear maybe wear like a black T-shirt with like those super this is like really like those super baggy black pants. They had like the pockets, like the 5,000 pockets on each leg.
They used to have like the goth pants.
There was the goth pants, like a good friend of ours, Nate, would wear them all the time.
You could go buy them at Hot Topic back in the day, before Hot Topic like stopped carrying baggy clothes.
They had like 700 pockets on each leg.
So you can carry your Game Boy, your Game Gear, your Game Boy Pocket, your Game Boy Color, your Game Boy Advance.
Your handheld Atari.
Yeah, the Lynx, I think it was called.
Yeah, I think the Lynx, Sphinx, whatever. And then there is
Lynx, I don't think it's Sphinx.
Okay. And then like the black the black cords just kind of hung down and did nothing.
They're suspenders is what I think they were. But
no one ever used them.
No, you didn't wear them like suspenders because you'd be ridiculed at school for wearing.
You look at somebody like, are you a fucking Kingdom Hearts character? What is this shit?
You know, as I get older, though, it's like, if you ever have to wear a suit, it's much cooler to wear suspenders. I feel like I'm a mobster then. I feel like I'm part of the Godfather when I put suspenders on. Like, don't fucking wear that belt, put suspenders on. Then when you take your jacket off, it looks like you mean business. You roll up your sleeves.
Yeah. You keep a pair of brass knuckles on you just in case, though.
Mm-hmm. Really gets the point across. You know what other movie I just got I got this a couple weeks ago, but it was sitting on my list of shit to talk about at some point. But, this is really one of those amazing fucking 90s movies. And I got Con Air on Blu-ray. When was the last time you watched that one? I remember seeing it in theaters.
I've never saw Con Air.
You've never seen Con Air?
There it is. No, I haven't.
There's just like a part of your childhood that was just like skipped over or something.
I just never saw Con Air. That's all.
Con Air, it's those movies like, anybody nowadays probably goes like, Con what?
What comes to mind?
Nicolas Cage in it.
What comes to mind? I've never seen it. So I'm not judging it, but like that line in Dogma, like dude fell in the sky naked, like Con Air, and Chris Rock's like that Con Air bullshit when he's getting up. That's what comes to mind whenever I hear Con Air.
Con Air is just an amazing movie. It's one of those ones. It defines like that '90s action movie to a T.
Like The Rock.
Yeah, it's sort of like The Rock. I mean, because it's produced.
Nick Cage aside.
Well, yeah, but it's produced by
Jerry Bruckheimer?
Yeah, I saw Beverly Hills Cop sitting there. Beverly Hills Cop, also one of my...
$5 Ben, can't complain.
I was really thinking about Beverly Hills Cop, though, the other day. Is like, that probably isn't my top 5 favorite movies of all time. That movie I've grown up watching my entire life. And I know it's not probably the best, like as like a top 5 favorite movie, but to me, it stands out a lot.
I haven't seen it since I was like probably 10, so... I just saw it. I remember liking it a lot, so I bought it, and I gotta watch it again.
I love it. But back to Con Air, though.
Con Air.
That's probably one of Nicolas Cage's best movies, too. And to top it off, there's like so many people in that movie.
Danny Trejo's in it, right?
Yeah, Danny Trejo, he's like the guy, he's like the rapist.
Okay.
It was weird because he has like short hair, or he doesn't he has short Danny Trejo hair. It's kind of like shoulder length.
I'm just gonna say this real quick.
Dave Chappelle's in it.
Oh yeah, because he did have a little bit of kind of like, he was on like some like I guess early game show thing with like it was some kind of like young talent search thing, and he was on there with Justin Timberlake, and he was really big. Remember, he was like in a couple of 90s movies for a little while, then disappeared, then came back in the 2000s. Mm-hmm. I may cut you off, but I was gonna say this real quick. I don't want to cut you off too long, but Danny Trejo, he's on like some kind of George Lopez like comedy show now. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Some kind of sitcom.
I feel like cause now everybody like wants him, so it's like, because you see him in movies all the time. Like everywhere I look, there's a new Danny Trejo movie coming out. I'm like, good for him.
He's gonna be in the Muppets. For him. Yeah, it's about time. It's kind of late for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's making up for lost time. But anyway, yeah, you're saying so. Con Air.
Con Air. I mean, it's just a great movie. I love the concept of like, you know what? There's these pretty much Nicolas Cage. Like he did no wrong. The only reason he's in jail is because he accidentally killed somebody in a bar fight because this guy was trying to pick up on his girlfriend, and he. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a military guy, so he laid one punch, in the wrong direction. Let's just say that.
All right.
So he's put in jail, and he's finally being, released after, I think, 7 or 10 years or something like that. And they put him in on this one plane that's got, the worst criminals known to mankind. This guy who, really didn't do anything wrong.
All right. Is Dave Chappelle one of the criminals, or is he a guy just flying the plane?
He's one of the criminals, but not, one of the major ones. He's just one of the regular guys.
Okay, is he kind of like the fun? Is he like?
He's kind of the funny guy, and then he ends up dying I don't know, 25 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it was the 90s.
he gets caught in the wheel well of the plane because the plane takes off without him.
No,
and they find his body at one point. He's just all dude ah! But no, pretty much happens, and then the cons they take over the plane. They kill all the pilots except for one, and they fly it, and then it has that humongous scene about. A huge scene for the 90s where they crash that plane in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. But you should go out and see it, though. It's one of those ones. It fits in, the Air Force One category of, great 90s action movies.
I'll have to check it out. It's a movie I always did want to see. I just haven't got around to it.
Oh, I saw it. It was a $5 bin for
That's
Blu-ray.
Becoming my catchphrase, You got... If we all had a catchphrase for this show, yours oh, dude, it's badass as fuck, or something. That'd be yours. Mine's I'll get around to it.
Yeah, I'll get there.
Yeah, I've just been busy. I'll see it at some point. That's not gonna fit on a bumper sticker, though. So.
It's just one of
that's not gonna fit
one of those kind of I'll get to it at some point, guy.
That's not gonna. I think we got to do better for our cafe press page. So
Yeah, we don't want to go to a job interview and go like, well, what kind of person are you? Well, I'm a kind of guy. I get to it at some point.
I get to it.
You know, eventually, sometime down the road. Like Con Air. You ever seen Con Air? Yeah, I've seen Con Air. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but believe me, it's on the list.
I have seen the one though. Have you seen that one? You haven't seen the one?
Well, then you got a list too. Put that one on the list.
Put the one.
Oh, you didn't grow up in the '90s? Well, that's okay. You'll like it anyways.
Nah, I remember. Because I remember like, I'm just going back to that for a second. Because our block, I lived in San Jose, and I would have to get on my bike and ride like probably 40 minutes to our Blockbuster. I feel like an old timer. Like,
I get on my bike and ride 40 minutes uphill on my bicycle and 40 minutes downhill
to the Blockbuster. I say, And then I remember coming back with like, I remember the two movies I got. The first time I did that was because before I was like, that's a long way. But then one day, just like, I'm gonna get my bike. I'm gonna do it. I want to do it.
And then you're just afraid somebody's gonna come by and like bug you for your like Blockbuster videos. Like, I don't want those late fees.
Yeah, exactly.
If I bought the movies, it'd be one thing. But
exactly, they're like the Blockbuster police come knocking on your door. No, but I went there and I remember I got that like the one in Dragon Ball Z Cooler's Revenge.
Oh yeah,
those are the two movies I got. Yeah,
those gotta go hand in hand almost.
They do, especially for a 14-year-old kid.
And then I got a 2 liter of Mountain Dew.
Nah, there wasn't enough room on my bike for that. I didn't have a basket, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't have a basket. You carry a backpack. You're a man.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not gonna put like your dog in there or like your cat
or an alien in like a hood.
We did that.
If I could
make up for a basket. If I
could make a ramp, I found this elaborate shortcut. If I can make a ramp over there and put this alien in the hood, I can really cut my trip short by 20 minutes.
Just gotta get the alien in the hood first.
Yeah, the hunt begins.
Well, you finally sat down and watched Robocop, another one to not mark off the list.
Yeah, I watched Robocop 1 and 2. I actually, in all honesty, saw Robocop the remake before I saw Robocop the original. And I'll be honest, I feel a little dumb for not seeing Robocop the original a little sooner.
Paul Verhoeven, yeah.
Well, it's one of those movies that I'm sure it will be good. And I saw parts of it before. I'm sure it will be good. I'll just get around to it. And I think that movie's damn near perfect. I fucking love that movie.
Isn't it great?
That was an awesome movie.
You know what? Really, though, it's like... Because, like, I grew up as a kid really liking RoboCop a lot. And then...
Red Foreman's one of the best movie villains in that.
He really is. And then to top it off, it's one of my favorite directors. Paul Verhoeven. He did Total Recall, which is, like, my other favorite movie of all time. He did Starship Troopers. He did Basic Instinct. There's a lot of great movies he did. And RoboCop is his first American one.
Mm-hmm. And I thought it was totally fucking awesome.
Isn't it great?
I love that movie. I mean, I guess you could... I can't really complain about anything in it. I mean,
there's nothing unless you want to go and start nitpicking.
Unless you want to, like, kind of nitpick just about the times it came out or whatever and compare. But really, it's just one of those things... I love that movie. I think it's a 4 out of 4 movie. I thought it was totally fucking awesome. And I feel... bad. Usually I'm like, oh, I didn't see that before. Every once in a while there's a movie like I'm surprised I didn't see that sooner, but
yeah,
glad I saw it. This one I actually feel legitimately bad for not seeing it sooner, especially since I watched the cartoon as a kid.
Yeah.
So like I watched RoboCop Alpha Commando as a kid. So it's like, oh, Alex Murphy. I know Alex Murphy.
Yeah, I know who this is.
Now though, I'm just like, this movie. I just think that's a perfect science fiction action film, and I loved it.
It's great. And I love like the stop motion on like the pretty much the mech thing.
The one thing I'm not gonna nitpick, nothing worth mocking it down for. I don't know why the mech made the noises of a lion and a wounded velociraptor.
No. But get this though, fucking like when I was watching a couple of years back, I was going like, you know what, dude? That's gotta be where fucking Metal Gear got its inspiration from, because the Metal Gears all make animal sounds too.
That's a good point.
And they walk just like that.
Hideo loves the 80s.
So like I was like, that's where that all had to come from. It's from RoboCop.
Pretty much.
And I think that's the whole point. Is like it makes those sounds. It's like I almost think since Metal Gear does it too, it's almost like it's like that's what it does, man. It's a giant robot. Of course it makes animal sounds. It's primal.
Well, at least those ones, they make some kind of like weird noise you've never really heard before. But
no, like in
RoboCop though,
Metal Gear Revengeance or whatever, the Raiden one. One of them makes a fucking like bowl sound.
Really?
Yeah, it's really fucking weird.
Huh. Does it at least have some electric overtone over it?
Maybe a little bit.
Oh yeah. Well, no, RoboCop 1, perfect movie. I liked Robocop 2. I think the movie's flawed, but I still liked it.
I like number 2 a lot. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first one, but I don't think it's that far away though.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's. I mean, I wouldn't say it's far away, but maybe it's. I don't think it's as good though. It's just kind of like. Well, I feel like there were like script changes they made in the middle of shooting. For instance, like they have the whole thing with his wife. They acknowledge at the beginning, but they never come back to it in any way.
Yeah.
There is no real closure, which maybe it's supposed to be a harsh reality thing, but above that, it just seems kind of like. It seemed like it was gonna be a big part. No,
It's gone.
It's gone. It's never come back. And then there's also the part where, look, I know Omnicorp's an evil corporation.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're an evil, horrible corporation. But of all the fucking brains you can put into a robot that can kill anything, why do you get a drug-addicted, like, cultist? Of all things.
Yeah.
Why do you get a guy who's a drug addict and a member of a fucking cult? It makes no sense to me. I know they're an evil corporation, and I know that RoboCop, first one and second one.
Well, they knew they could control him because they could give him like that nuke, like that big vial of nuke. He's like, yeah, you want this, huh? We'll go do the fucking mission then. You nuke fuck addict.
Well, still, we saw how that planned out. I still think there's several other ways you can kind of get around that.
Yeah.
And even like the kid. I thought the kid was
because in RoboCop 2, I like when the robots start committing suicide because they're like,
That part
I
was
don't want to
funny.
live.
Well, I mean, no, I like the satire that's in RoboCop 1 and 2, like how they show like commercials for fake products, like nuke 'em for the whole family, you know, like you see, like, and then like there's
because it's in Starship Troopers a lot like that too. I love that.
and then there's the whole thing with like the kids, like not the kids, like this is number 2. I thought this was funny, kind of like. Ever since we burnt all the atmosphere, we got this new special suntan lotion. Like,
This is
like
a big
warning.
wad.
Yeah, just all the chicks completely blue. It's like warning may cause cancer if like frequent use. You know, so that's all like good. So I thought that was pretty. You know, that's pretty funny. But at the end of the day, though, I don't think that the whole thing like let's put a drug addict's brain inside of a robot is really satire. I just think it was like we gotta find a way to bring this guy back. And I think there's several other ways you can get around getting that chick to do that and getting people to agree to it. But whatever, at the end of the day, it was still the good outweighed
It has
the
good
bad.
action in that one.
That one's like a 3 out of 4. The first one's a 4 out of 4.
Yeah, that's about right. That still says it's pretty good.
Yeah, still
Wow.
worthwhile. Just
Yeah, well, it's like I like the action in it. It's just kind of funny just having like kids go like, "Fuck you, RoboCop."
yeah, like that's funny.
Especially back in the day, you don't get enough of that in the olden days.
I even thought it was kind of funny. Sometimes that could be kind of like. Sometimes that kind of comic relief can be kind of weird. But that was funny when they actually changed his personality and he was trying to be all, after like going through all these studies and like that's another part of the satire that I thought worked. When you had all these different people like, RoboCop's never done anything for the environment. Maybe he should start being more friendly. Maybe he should start like talking to people before he shoots them. Like I thought that's totally, I mean, I don't know how much of they kept, but you can tell that was definitely something Frank Miller wrote in the earlier draft.
Well, because you know, like you think about like Dark Knight and RoboCop all feel very similar. Like both like it's the way that they're told. Everything's kind of told through the news, you know. So it seems like you can see where like Frank Miller would jump on for RoboCop 2 at least, you know. And who knows how much they change, you know? But
they apparently, I think it was. I don't think it was. Maybe it was Avatar Press. Like some comic book company actually went out and like just did like Frank Miller's scripts, what he wrote. For RoboCop 2 and 3.
Did
like
they make it to a comic?
Into a comic, yeah.
That's
his unfiltered
That's
scripts.
the cool thing about nowadays is we can get stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, where you can actually take somebody's script that was never used and just go, what if? You know, we can make a comic book. Because, you know, what's it cost to make a comic book, you know?
I want to get Kevin Smith's Green Hornet, like, one at some point. I'm
Yeah.
surprised they haven't made his
Superman one?
yet. Yeah.
I was like, why not? It's just someone's like, why not? Who doesn't want to pay money for that?
I guess we live at the age we can get it online for free, but at the same time, I'd be curious to see.
Well, you can't get the comic book online.
You can't get the comic online for free, but I mean the story. I mean, I'd like to. I'd probably, if they had a comic of it, I'd probably buy it because Kevin Smith's one of my favorite like writers out there. So, but no, this.
What do you think about the new RoboCop though?
New RoboCop. All right.
Because I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I'll say this: walking out of it, I liked it. And I shouldn't hold it against it because it's a separate movie. But after watching RoboCop 1, I guess it was kind of like watching... I guess it'd almost be kind of like watching Disturbia after a rear view window. It's kind of
Was it really that big a difference for you? I mean,
maybe
'cause,
not that big of a difference,
I
but-
kind of accept. I'm like, okay, I know it's going into it. I'm like, I know it's not rated R, so you're not gonna get all like the F bombs, and you're not gonna get all the violence. I kind of knew that was it, but I'm like, well, nowadays the only upside now it's like because PG-13 movies back in the day just a lot of times didn't cut it. Where nowadays a PG-13 movie, no matter what, you're always gonna watch and go like, it would be that much better if it were rated R. And this one movie you can say it would be that much better if it was rated R. But I still liked it a lot. I liked the story. I mean, it was just kind of like expanded on the original one. The action was really cool in it. Made me laugh. Mm-hmm. Kind of had all the things I like.
I'll say this. I liked it. Actually, you know what? I'll even go as far and say I liked it more. Well, let me put it this way. I liked it. I liked the style of Robocop 2 more, but I probably like it more than Robocop 2. I'll probably say that.
Yeah, I liked it more than Robocop 2.
But as far as Robocop 1 goes, it was just one of those things. It was kind of like, because I saw it afterwards. Mm-hmm. I saw the original Robocop after the Robocop remake.
Yeah, so that
it's
probably
kind of
gives
like
you a different feeling.
So I didn't have this time to kind of prepare myself. And I'm almost angry at myself for not watching as a kid, because I know if I watched the movie as a kid, I'd fucking love it. So, but RoboCop the remake. I'll say it. I think there's some things about it that were different enough. Like I kind of like the idea that the guy who was building RoboCop wasn't some douchebag. And they even kind of went out of their way to make a statement, because the only thing left of RoboCop in the original, they said, the only thing left of him was like, the brain, the lungs, and the hand. And he's like, just fucking get rid of it. Just get rid of the hand. Full new body. Why we got the hand? And they make a statement in the new RoboCop that he has the left hand. And I think it's to show it's not the same. He's not, even though he makes compromises, Gary Oldman character, which was kind of like Bruce Wayne talking like Commissioner Gordon into doing some fucked up shit here and there when you think about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it followed the same beats as RoboCop, like the same story beats.
The main plots it followed, and then other than that, though, it kind of went in its own direction, which I think that's fine. That's kind of when you make a remake. That's kind of what you want, is a little bit different.
I think they should have made it a little bit more different though, because. I mean, look, I still enjoyed the movie. I can't really hold the original against it, because I saw it beforehand, and I enjoyed it. I think that, I guess it's just a matter of preference of which one you like more, just the original or the remake. I'm going to go with the original.
Well, yeah, that's the given, though.
But as far as the movie goes by itself, I thought, it was trying to be its own thing. The original was, like, dark and gritty and, like, a lot of, like, shadow, like, just a lot of, like, ghetto looking stuff. This one was shinier, sleeker, prettier looking,
modern, faster, quicker.
And I get that. I mean, I thought the way RoboCop moved when he fought was pretty cool. Yeah. Like, I thought like how RoboCop was a lot swifter when he got into shootouts. That was cool, and I understand that.
And I still like though, but like when you watch him walk though, they still have that similar walk where like the head turns first, then the body turns afterwards. Mm-hmm. I mean. The one thing I like about the original RoboCop though is I like how robotic he sort of is. Mm-hmm. In this one, because at first one, the only things I kind of was like, it doesn't really bring it down, but I was kind of like, I like the more roboticized voice. Uh-huh. And the new one, it was more like, he was sort of had the more humanized voice, he was still himself. They
had the part where, they kept it like more of, the original, they had the thing where he was a monster that slowly realized he was a human at one point in time, where this one, it was kind of like he knew the whole time, just at one point they flipped a switch and he had to override the switch. Yeah. And that was, it's one of those things, there is no real like explanation for it other than just sheer human will, which that's fine every here and there, I guess. I do just kind of like how clever it was at the end of the first one, though, when it's just like, I can't fire at him, he works for you. He says, you're fired! He's gonna shoot him right out the fucking window. And then he just says, what's your name? Like, Murphy, sir. Smiles, walks out, credits.
And then the Robocop theme.
That's like one of the best fucking ways to end a movie right there. Uh-huh. But this one was still good. Well, actually, I did like the way, I liked how they made Samuel L. Jackson a less racist, more likable Bill O'Reilly. Yeah. He was a likable Bill O'Reilly.
Well, it's sort of like, it's like, when Samuel Jackson started, they're like, yeah, goddamn right, put a fucking Robocop in every, city in America. I am sold on that idea.
Well, I thought it was one of those things like, even though it was still like, it didn't really have the level of satire the first one had.
It still had it there, though.
It still had a little bit of it there, and I kind of like how the first one has a little. I mean, not the first one. Am I saying the remake? The remake has even though it's PG-13, it ends on a little bit of a darker note with saying kind of like we still got a problem with like who the real bad guys are, which is like the media and all that, because it doesn't end with kind of like Alex Murphy, sir, smiling, walking up the door. It ends with a news broadcast of Samuel Jackson. I like how, even though it was bleeped, they still got him to say motherfucker. Yeah. Like, this motherfucker right here. And then he's just like, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, good night. This, like, like he's going off saying, like, if you don't like the way America runs, suck it up. Like he totally just seemed like, I was just thinking, he's like, this guy's a likable Bill O'Reilly right now. That's all he is. He's Samuel Jackson, so you already like him. But so then it just ends right there. Then it starts to play the Clash.
I remember it played. Yeah, it plays the Clash.
I Fought the Law and the Law Won.
The cover song.
Yeah, and the Ramones are the original, or
no? It's like a 50s song.
50s song. I figured it was a 50s song. Anyway, did the Ramones do a cover of that anyway?
I think so.
Okay.
I just know Stray Cats have a cover of it.
Stray Cats But anyway, so it plays that song. And I just thought that was a cool way to end that movie right there. And not like, once again, not holding against, not as cool as the original, but it's still a cool way to end the movie. Just kind of like, even though the good guys won, we still see it's kind of like they live in a fucked up world, sort of. I would have preferred if, I mean, this is just my preferences. I understand they're trying to make their own, mark, but even Robocop, the original, like 86 came out, right? 86?
I think it's 87, actually.
87? 87 Robocop. I'll just say 87 just for shortness. 87, and it kind of had that, even though it still felt semi-futuristic and really dark, it still felt very modern and not that futuristic, semi-futuristic.
Well, yeah, it felt like it kind of has the, like, this is almost around the corner, 5 years from now, kind of.
Yeah.
Not meaning that, like, that's kind of is, but it doesn't look too different, just it happens to be robots.
With the exception of the mech at the end in Robocop, it all feels fairly plausible.
Yeah.
Now, I think the very beginning, I think that, like, I mean, I prefer the dark and grittiness of it, but I think almost like Detroit should have looked like that Middle East at the very beginning. Something kind of like that. Like, the robot.
Really I love that part in the beginning.
That is so awesome.
And the Middle East there.
And it really does make Omnicore look that much bad. It makes him look that evil.
I thought it was like awesome. I just love that part where like the
I love that part. That part's cool, but I think it makes Omnicorp look that evil. Like making people just walk out and just like scan them. Like, see, look at like fucking Samuel Jackson's like, look, it's freedom. It's good. Don't worry about it.
That part just made me laugh. That's part where the kid comes up with the knife and the robot's like, he's armed, like blows him away.
Exactly.
This movie, though, I will have to say, had one of the weirdest intros I've ever seen in a movie. Because it shows the MGM lion, and then you just hear like, you're like, what the fuck? And then Samuel Jackson just getting ready. Like,
he's like doing like voice exercises, like,
I was like, what the fuck? Oh!
And I can see like newscast being kind of similar to that. I mean, similar to that, like in 20 years or something. Though this movie did have some really cool imagery in it, like the part when he breaks out of the Chinese facility. We don't know.
Well, I like it because you don't know where he is.
You see, there's a lot of Asian people, but you don't really put it together just yet. Then as soon as he breaks out,
he jumps the wall.
And then you see there's just like this. I don't know what they are, but they're just
rice fields.
Was that a rice field?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's running through a rice field, and you just see, like, the huge mountains. Like, oh, shit, he's in fucking China. Like, that part right there. Although I love, even though it's in RoboCop 1 and 2, at some point, some guy that has no power over him is like, hey, you can't do that! You can't do that! And he just, like, breaks the guy's hand, just keeps walking. There's, like, some fucking Chinese guy just, like, yelling at him in Chinese, like, hey, you, like, giant
it's a scientist, too.
Giant robot man, you can't do that. Just breaks the guy, like, just push. Of all the fucking people you can talk shit to, you're gonna talk shit to the tallest guy in the room who happens to be made of metal.
One thing I always think is kind of weird though is like you see this in other movies too, but like to me I always kind of go like when like they finally when Gary Oldman's like, okay, this is who you really are, and it like takes off his arm, his legs, his other arm, his torso, and it's just got the lungs and the head, and that's like all that's left. He's like, well, this is all that's really left of you, and he's like, fucking kill me, man. Kill me! I don't want to live. I don't want my family to see me like this. And everybody's kind of like, no, dude, we just spent like $2.5 billion on you. fuck you. But it's all I'm like, who the fuck doesn't want to be a RoboCop. Like, and you see that all the time. Like, whenever somebody becomes like a cyborg, they're always like, "Just kill me now, man. I can't live like this." I'm like, why the fuck would you not want to live like that? I want to be a fucking robot. I have a perfectly good body, but if I could be a RoboCop, I would trade it in.
I think the first thing that comes to his mind is like, how am I going to fuck my wife like this? He probably has a vibrator that sticks out.
Yeah. Who cares? You're a fucking RoboCop. Like, what? Who the fuck cares? You're RoboCop. And then it's also
you're a prime candidate for a RoboCop. You just
I know,
don't give,
I don't take my body.
Friends, family, I don't give a fuck.
Just take my body for science. Let me be a RoboCop. Give me one of those guns.
At the end of the day, as long as I can say dead or alive, you're coming with me. I'm fucking fine.
And it's just like the other part too is kind of weird. It's like when he goes to see his son, and his son's like kind of just sitting there. It's like, what fucking kid would not want their dad to be a RoboCop? If your dad's RoboCop, you'd be like, oh my god. Oh my fucking god.
Robo-Dad.
You just be getting on the phone, you'd be calling all your friends, you're like, dude, my dad is fucking RoboCop. What kid would just be like, oh, Dad, you look different. Just kind of like, that kid just kind of had like no expression. It's just like, what the fuck? What's wrong with that kid? His dad's a fucking RoboCop. What the fuck? Come on. I mean, who doesn't want their dad to be RoboCop? I want to be fucking RoboCop.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, but everybody's kind of like, oh, no.
But
they always kind of do that. They do that lots of times where it's like, one's like, but I'm not human enough. It's just like, oh, poo-boo.
That's why I kind of like the tragedy of the first one. The tragedy of how they don't know.
Because he kind of erases his memory sort of, and he just has tidbits left of it.
In this one, it's kind of like he knows the whole time. Like, they won't let us see him, but I actually want to say this. Even as much as I love the first one, I think Michael Keaton's a better, like, evil, like, businessman. Because
I love Michael Keaton, though, and the new one.
Well, the thing about him is he's more of like, Batman aside.
Aside from him being Batman.
Well, aside from that, I mean, he's kind of like, what they did is, because the other one, you see that guy, like, the vice president, he's all like, they knew they're signing up for a tough job. They can't handle the heat. Get out of the kitchen. You know, that he has that whole kind of like, fuck you. I'm in a $2,000 suit. Suck my dick. I'm rich. What are you gonna do? He has that vibe about him. Michael Keaton
looks like a regular guy.
Even though you know he's a fucking evil asshole, the whole time you're like, he doesn't seem so bad.
And he just plays it all so nice too. Even like when like the lady's like, or RoboCop's wife's like, it's like, I don't want to have anything to fucking do with you like that. And he's like, so we're good.
Well, even like he's like, look, he's like, I mean, at the end of the day, I know he's a fucking horrible person. I know that.
He still comes across kind of nice.
But he still says like, we will pay you guys. We're so sorry this happened. We didn't mean for it to go this way. We understand. Even at the point where they're on top of the roof, and he's all like saying like, we're gonna have 2 separate helicopters. You guys go first. After you. He's like talking to the wife and kid. Yeah. You guys go first. He knows this guy's coming fucking after him, but he still can play it well enough. Like, no, you guys go first. It's okay. And then even at the point where he says like, you can't shoot me. I'm a red asset, but I can point a gun at your wife and kid and shoot them, and you're not gonna do any. You know. And though even when he's pointing a gun, like he's not gonna do it. He's being a nice guy. Come on, you know.
Yeah, I know. I love Michael Keaton in that one.
He seemed kind of like he was more playing. I mean. Once again, like he seemed kind of like they're doing like a more of a modern day, even aside from evil 80s billionaire, he's more of kind of like a modern day billionaire, like I guess a Richard Benson, like a Steve Jobs. Not Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs wasn't as fucking likable, but
yeah, Steve Jobs be that asshole guy up there.
Like maybe like Rich. Well, you know what? When by Steve Jobs, kind of like comes out, he's kind of a showman, kind of dressed all casual, like hey, I'm one of you guys.
I'm one of you guys, you know, as long as you guys work for me.
Yeah, but like a Richard Benson, maybe something kind of like that. You know, he's more of like a modern day kind of like CEO, what we see in the news and all that.
What did you think about RoboCop having the motorcycle? I like the motorcycle a lot.
I like that.
I think kind of Judge Dredd.
I think they saw Judge Dredd.
But it's like it kind of makes more sense because the other one's just like just give him a regular car, which I think that's fine with me. I like RoboCop driving a car, but it seems he's special. Maybe he should get his own vehicle. Like he's riding a motorcycle. He's a RoboCop. It's not like he's gonna get hurt.
Yeah. I thought that motorcycle was cool. I thought that was cool. I mean, that was my first introduction to RoboCop aside from the cartoon. So I thought I didn't really have any real opinion of it, but I thought that looked cool. I think they really should have gone with more of like going to Judge Dredd for a second. I think they should have made Detroit look more like
Mega City
1. I think it should have. I just think because it really looks like that city doesn't need a RoboCop. It looks fine. I mean, I know that we see there's crime, but nothing that bad that needs a fucking RoboCop. I thought make it a little bit more sci-fi-ish probably would have been a little...
Yeah, just make it... Because it's in the future anyway. I don't know. They don't say the exact year, but They do specify that it's like
In
at
the
least
future.
2030 or something like that.
Well, even the first one, it felt like, even though we knew it was in the future, it didn't feel like, it looked like it was like, just 5 years from whenever the movie was set. What they assumed the future would be in 5 to 10 years. I think why not go a step further? Make it look like, not exactly, but, Mega City 1 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like make it look, way farther in the future. Because I think Judge Dredd's like at least 100 plus years in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like the new one. I liked it more than Robocop 2. But it was, after watching the first one, it was just kind of like, I don't know if I can go back. But,
Really?
I thought, Jay, I'll say this. I mean, I think I just gotta watch it again. Because today I watched the '87 RoboCop, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind. Like I'm just angry at myself I didn't see it sooner. But there was actually I thought that there's a lot of actors in the new RoboCop that kind of I thought really added to it. Like I was really glad to see Gary Oldman is kind of like I thought that was a cool thing. He was
a
like
likable scientist.
He was like, even though he made compromises and we saw him doing some bad things, you saw he felt bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like he did it because he was evil. He just kind of like, well, I guess
I have to.
yeah, that's what I got to do.
And Michael Keaton was very persuasive. He's like, look, man, I want to help you. You want to help me, And even like the small little touches, like when he's teaching the guy how to play, the guy who has amputated arms, he has the robot hands.
The guy who's like all like angry. He's just like, we can't fucking do it.
He's trying to play guitar, like little touches like that,
He's like, you're like, well, how do you play guitar? Well, I play like a bitch, and that's the only way I can play good is if I have emotion. It's just like, well, it's either you can play normal, or you can get the fuck out of here.
I play like a bitch.
It's just like, well, one's like,
I want to see you as like a fucking physical like therapist. Like, oh, look at me. I fucking lost my arms in a fucking war. Fuck you. Play that guitar, you fucking pussy.
Well, those ones like, okay, the guy has had these hands for all of 10 fucking seconds. And he's like, I just can't do it. It's like, well, dude, if you fucking broke your arm and you had to go back and play guitar, it would take you a couple of months. Anyways, what do you expect? If you can play that good already in 10 fucking seconds with robot hands. It's like, it's just a guy who's like, well, look, I gotta have emotion to play. And I do like how though, like,
I see why you're. I see, like, like, do you want your memories? If you want, no, fuck that. I don't need no memories. I just want to fucking kill.
Give me the gun. I don't care. Fucking give me my robot brain. As long as I just know in myself that I am Robocop. I don't want to be erased that much that I don't know I'm Robocop. In my brain, I have to know that I'm Robocop. I do like how, like, when they're kind of, like, testing out Robocop and stuff, and there's, like, the one, like, douchebag, like, military guy.
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah, and he's all,
Rorschach.
like... And he's like, I wouldn't buy that for $1. They kind of brought that back around. I like that.
A little, like, yeah.
Because there was that fat guy was like, I'd buy that for $1.
Just how people watch, like, I think it was, I'm not sure if that was, like, they're parroting something that was popular in the 80s, or they're just saying how they just play the same stupid shit. Like, because that was one thing about, like, RoboCop 1. Whenever they watch, like, that, I'd pay that for $1. He's laughing. People be slapping their knees, laughing uncontrollably whenever they were watching that show.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's like a nod to something that came out at the time, or if it's just people just watch stupid shit in general.
Yeah, well, I think it's just like live, because a lot of times it's sort of like Frank Miller's Dark Knight. You notice how like everybody's watching TV, and that's kind of like how RoboCop is too. And a lot of things in the '80s, you notice that like everybody gets their like information from TV.
Yeah.
Because it's just like that's how they use stuff. And when I think of that line though, is like, did you ever play Smash TV arcades?
Yeah.
Well, they always have like the guy in there who pretty much, because that always reminds me of like a mix of like sort of like Running Man and then any other kind of 80s thing like RoboCop and whatnot. But the guy always has those lines like, big money, big prizes, I love it. Like those kind of game show host voices. And it always reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah.
I always feel like that must have been where it kind of came from, was that RoboCop. And then probably came from somewhere else beforehand.
Yeah.
The one thing that was really cool though in the movie, because, I mean, like, I kind of, going into it, I knew it's like they wanted to make him black and make him look sleek and all that stuff. I love, though, at the very end, though, he puts the regular RoboCop suit back on.
It's like a thinner, sleeker version.
Yeah, it's sleeker, but it's silver, and it looks, like... You
see some of the patterns and all that,
Because, I mean, like, the black one's like, I'll put up with it. I know that nowadays we are in the black age, and everything's got to be black and sleek and shiny, and it's like... And, 80s, everything's kind of gray and silver. That's...
It was cool. They kind of came back around and put the badge on his chest.
Yeah, and I like that. It was just like I thought that was so cool. That's one of the best things you can do in a movie. Hopefully, they make another one so we can see it more.
Well, I want them to come out with another one just for, and not saying that like number 2 was horrible, but that's kind of where, because number 1, even though I liked it, it followed a little too closely, but didn't change enough. Let me put it this way:
it could have been. Yeah.
It felt kind of like it was trying to be like Big Brother. It was trying to be as cool as the original, but didn't really. But at the same,
that's where it's,
it didn't really have enough of its own identity in certain aspects.
Well, that's where it's a remake and not a reboot.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I think the second one, though, if there is a second one, that's where we can see maybe some real change. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you wouldn't need to remake the second one. You could really just kind of go from wherever you want.
Do your own thing.
There's a lot of Robocop stories, like, of the movies. There's all the comics and even video games and whatnot. There's been more Robocop stuff since then. The animated show.
Yeah, I mean, we could even do, like, you could even have, like, references and characters from number 2. Just, fix some of the plot holes or some of the...
Yeah, just work around it.
Yeah, maybe get a reason why there's a drug addict's brain inside of a robot other than a company putting billions and billions of dollars into it. But, still at the end of the day, good movie. I liked it. I thought it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I just thought it was, like, good action.
And they brought in a lot, like I said, like, I was glad to see Jackie Earl Haley.
Because he hasn't been too much.
And it's kind of like anything to support that dude. Even though his character was kind of an asshole, he was still pretty good.
Yeah, still good.
And he was actually, I'd want to call him one of my favorite actors, but he's not in a whole lot. I mean, he's been stuff.
The one thing I think of it, like, is, he's in Watchmen, and he was in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm. He was also in, he was a child actor who took a break because he was in Bad News Bears. He was like one of the.
Was he really?
He was one of the shit-talking... He was, like, one of the main shit-talking kids in Bad News Bears, the original. And then, I know. He's just one kid.
Took a break, and then, like, 1 year later, he's, like, an adult.
And then, like...
well, he was a kid, and then all of a sudden, like, a year or two later, he was in Watchmen.
I think he was, like, one of the main kids.
Yeah.
One of the main kids in the movie. That's what I was trying to say. Rorschach in Watchmen, he was amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
I was, usually I don't give a shit if people... I usually don't give a shit about the Academy Awards, but I was a little irritated he wasn't at least nominated. He was also... I didn't see Nightmare on Elm Street. Even though it was a small part, he was really great in The Town, and he was really great in Shutter Island.
Oh,
small
that's
parts.
right. He was in Shutter Island.
He had, like, one scene in Shutter Island, but it was so fucking good.
I want to go back and watch Shutter Island again, because... knowing how that movie is, I feel like I might enjoy it more the second time through. I think it's because it had that first time watch where you're like, that's what it fucking did. That's fucking gay.
I saw the...
Martin Scorsese, what the fuck is this? Then you kind of walk out of the theater. But I think if you went back into it and you go, okay, I know how it ends. I get that. And then you watch it, I think it might be a little bit more enjoyable.
I mean, I haven't seen it since the theaters. I remember
just really loving it.
Loving it, and then the last 10 minutes.
And you're like, the fuck?
Well, no, because it was one of those things like, please don't do the thing like, this was all in his head. He's been in the institution the whole time. They were just playing make believe. Please don't do that, because that was a fear. Because there's a time when that was original, but now it's just it's kind of a cliche. And when
plus it's kind of it's lame no matter what, because it just kind of just says like, guess what? The last 2 hours you just did, well, not real.
Well, I'll say this: even though I didn't like that ending. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was based on a book or something, so he's trying to stay true to the book. But even that ending, even the part when he finds out it wasn't real, and he confronts his wife, and he kills his wife, and she's all being hella crazy and creepy, and says like, after she kills the kids, she's like, we'll just leave them in the house, we'll treat them like dolls, they'll always be this. It just, that super chilling, creepy scene. Even though by that point we find out the rest of it was bullshit, that was still really well shot, really good scene. So I want to see that movie again. I don't think my mind is going to change that much on the ending, regardless of how good the scene was when he sees what really happened with his wife. But regardless, the rest of that movie was entertaining.
See, I feel like for me, it might be a Fight Club. Just knowing that's what it was, because that was kind of how I felt about Fight Club. The first time I watched it, and I was just like, the fuck? Brad Pitt's not real? Fuck this movie. What the fuck is with this?
And that's my favorite part about what your argument is. It's not Tyler Durden wasn't real. It's Brad Pitt wasn't real.
And I remember the first time I saw the movie, I'm like, I fucking agree with Leonard Maltin. He's fucking right, man. This movie's fucking shit towards like the halfway point. And then as I got later on, I go back and watch, I'm like, and I understand, and I know that I go, okay, Brad Pitt's not real.
It's like you had to
come
go to
on with it.
It's like you had to go to some kind of counseling for it. Like, say it. No, I won't say it. Brad Pitt's not real.
Brad Pitt's Edward Norton.
We made progress today, Spencer. We made progress.
Because then I go back and watch
Brad
Fight
Pitt's
Club.
not Edward Norton.
And Fight Club turns out, I'm like, no, it's a fucking amazing movie. But just sometimes there's that first kind of watch thing, and you just kind of go, fuck that ending, you know what I mean? And I feel I didn't feel that much, but I mean, Shutter Island was one of those kind of movies where it's like, oh, it was really good, and then something about like a really good movie, and then you kind of do it, an ending like that, it's sort of, even though like, it shouldn't do this, but it really brings down like the whole movie. Like, it really does. Sort of like, what was that other movie we watched? It came out like...
Repo Man. We saw
same
like a
year.
week later. No, it wasn't a same year. It was a fucking week later. We went to go see Repo Man, and I mean, the movie wasn't, looking back...
It wasn't Shutter Island, but it was, like, I remember, it was pretty good.
And then you get to the very end, and you find out that, like, by the point Forrest Whitaker slammed his head into, like, whatever it was, like a crane or whatever, hook, whatever it was, you find out from that point on, the last, like, 30, 40 minutes of the movie was all just a dream. It's like, the fuck?
Yeah, I was like, the fuck? You could have fucking ended the movie 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's like, don't do the Super Mario Brothers 2 to me.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I beat Super Mario Bros. 2, and it sort of makes sense, Super Mario Bros. 2. The only reason I said it, because, like, this is why
Kingdom.
Well, this is why, like, none of this other stuff plays. That's why, like, in Mario 3, you don't pick people up anymore.
Even though, like, it's one of those things, like, they brought Shy Guys and Birdos into the Mario universe.
Yeah. So I guess they are real, just... I went for that day, though, when they tried to bring back a Super Mario Bros. 2 style game.
Where you have to jump and throw them?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for them to bring back, like...
A new Mario game?
Well, like, bring back Blurt, or what's his name? Blurt, the Wart. Evil Wart.
Oh, yeah, from Super Mario Bros. 2.
Yeah, because I was wondering, I mean, this is going... Like, because they were, at one point, Mario Brothers, the movie, ends with a sequel. So, Bowser's dead. If Bowser's come back to life, or Koopa, whatever the fuck, if it's not Koopa come back to life at the end, then is it the Koopa children? Is it Donkey Kong? Or is it Wart?
Yeah,
or is it the fucking mouse? Or, you know?
I don't know.
I'm just kind of curious. I'm curious to see what would have been. There's sometimes those movies that you know are never going to come out, but you're curious. This is where, like, this day and age, a script was probably never written, but this day and age where a comic could be made, like, what would the Mario Brothers 2 sequel would have been? Because I think...
like to see that, because you know what? Because Mario Brothers, people always want to talk crap on that movie, but to me, I'm like, that's a damn good movie. And I like that, what it does is it takes something that's like, I don't know how you make this live action exactly, at least back in the day, too, without, like, CG and whatnot, and just kind of says, like, well, fuck, we'll make it cyberpunk. Blade Runner's popular.
I think
by that point,
I know the movie's not perfect. I know the movie has some flaws here and there, but it's a part of my childhood, and I really enjoy. I look back on the movie. I mean, it was one of the first movies I saw in theaters, and I look back on the movie. There's no, I know a lot of people like point out this, point out that, and I understand all their criticisms, but at the end of the day,
that's just nitpicking.
Well, no, I mean, you like what you like, you don't like what you don't like. I get that. There's, everything's subjective at the end of the day, but. And that movie does have some plot points that are like, yeah, whatever, that's a little shaky. But at the end of the day, though, you grew up with what you grew up, and I still enjoy that movie. That was one of the first movies I saw in theaters, and plus at a time when I'm like, because that was one of those things. Now we live in an age where you can we know what's being made 4 years before it comes out, assuming if it ever gets made.
This is when they surprise you, like...
This was at a point, I remember seeing something for it, like... Being a kid, I just got into Mario through Mario. I mean, I always liked Mario, but it was like Mario World came out, and that game made me a huge, huge, huge Mario fan. That was like the first video game I got into. Aside from, like, I always liked Mario, but beyond that was what made me a Mario fan. And then just being kind of like, man, I don't see anything Mario anymore. When's more Mario stuff? Then all of a sudden, a TV spot comes on.
Kid.
And it was, and it was almost kind of like, that guy's dressed in red. That guy's dressed in green. There's a dinosaur. But it's all science fiction. Mario Brothers the movie, bitch! And just being a kid like, oh my fucking god! You know, so, and it wasn't one of those, you know, you don't always go to the movie theaters when you're that young, so it's...
No, you get like one movie a year almost.
Yeah, so that was kind of like, there's that thing you can't take away from that age, where now it's kind of like, you could almost know the progress of the movie. You can know how the movie ends before it comes out almost this day and age.
if you want to put the effort into learning.
So at a time when you didn't know that and you just kind of had to watch TV or had to read magazines, which when fucking kid in kindergarten read magazines.
Yeah.
You know, that was
90s.
Like, yeah.
You didn't have pictures, you didn't read it.
Exactly. Fuck reading, you know.
Fuck reading unless it's a comic book.
Pretty much.
90s.
90, yeah. I saw it. I had to be in kindergarten when I saw that movie. So seeing the commercial, like, oh my god, like, opening next week, bitch. You know, I don't know why the movie theater called its audience bitch, but you get the point.
But we were there, just like it's servant bitches.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean,
we have $3 in hand, because it's probably how much it cost at that time.
So whatever acting or plot holes that film has can't replace what you were that age when you first saw that movie. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's one of the first movies you saw.
Well, to me, it's like...
In theaters.
One thing I just really always bothers me with the nitpicky, though, that comes with a lot of movies nowadays. Everybody, it's like, I feel like we live in the kind of age where everybody wants to nitpick every game, every movie, even comics. And it's just one of those ones, like, unless something's really bad, I don't, you know, small things, I just, like, we let small things get away. Like, have you ever made a movie that was perfect where you didn't go, like, oh, there's that and that and
yeah.
that. You know what I mean? I look at the big picture now. It's just kind of like, what's the big picture of it all?
We do live in an age where it almost seems kind of like, we used this before, but we live in an age where it's almost like cynicism is more valued than actual creativity, it seems. Like, for instance, I was talking, like a few podcasts back, I was talking shit on Honest Trailers, which is just a YouTube page that generally just takes movies, whether they be recent or like a few years back, and they just make a very cynical kind of video, kind of like, you know, every so often they'll come out with one, like, you know, they'll have good points, and there'll be, like, funny things in it, but it's kind of like...
It's so nitpicky, it just gets to a point.
Sometimes you reach the point where, like, they take, when you're at the point where, like, when you're taking, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're taking, like, because people suggest, when you're taking suggestions of what to nitpick next, when you're taking suggestions of what to nitpick, and you gotta pick this thing and just rip it apart from there.
I just feel like you're living in a negative world.
And it's like one of those things, like, okay, like, I watched the one for Dragon Ball Evolution, because, as I said earlier, I really disliked that movie.
Well, every once in a while, there's going to be a movie that just isn't good. You know?
And I totally agreed with everything that thing said. And even the ones I don't agree with, I'll fully admit there's some funny stuff, and they make some good points. Mm. But eventually, when you start having nitpicking, it almost, just for the sake of nitpicking, you're just ripping it apart just for the sake of ripping it apart. And it just seems kind of like, well, why don't you do something about it? Well, there's something like, for instance, there's the guy who I mean, it's really popular online, but there's the guys who like, I don't remember his name, but he made like a full-length documentary and chopped it in parts on YouTube on Star Wars Episode 1, Star Wars Episode 2. I don't know if he made one for Episode 3. I don't know if he did. And Avatar. Mm-hmm. Just ripping them apart. And I watched like the first 3 parts to Star Wars Episode 1 and the first part to like Star Wars to Avatar, Avatar. And it's one of those things, you made some funny bits here and there, and you made some good points, but at the end of the day, you made an hour and a half documentary bitching about a movie that came out how many years ago?
Well, there's that. The way I look at it, though, it's like, here's the thing. What has this guy really fucking made? And I hope that the day you make a fucking movie, somebody gets to go out there and bitch about it the whole way, too, and gets nitpicked. And I hope you like it that way. That's how I look at it. It's like, are you going to like it when somebody takes your movie and rips it apart and just nitpicks it the whole way through?
Like, I could shit on
it. This one kind of guy is like, no, I'm not going to do that. Sounds like work.
Look, I can shit. I mean, look, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I can shit on Episode 2 all day, and I could even, like... Even though I like it more, I can point out some major flaws in Episode 1. But at the end of the day, though, it's kind of like, all right,
it's still Star Wars.
Hour and a half, more than that. All right, it's an hour and a half to like just watch this whole fucking thing. Mm-hmm. In that time, I could have got how many things done. that wasn't ripping something
here's the
apart.
thing,
But I already knew.
I can't go outside and make a Star Wars movie anywhere close to being that good right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the money. It's not my property. I don't have any of the special effects. I don't have any of the gadgets or anything to make it. So I accept what I get because it's like, that's what there is, you know what I mean? And it's not my fucking movie. It's not my fucking movie. No matter what, it's not mine. So I always feel it's like, if you don't like it, you just kind of don't watch it, but don't even, just enjoy what comes out of it, not necessarily what you can go and nitpick about it.
Exactly. And like, I'm going back to an old topic here. Like, I didn't like Dragon Ball Evolution. I mentioned that several times on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Several times today, as a matter of fact.
I do not feel the need to make
an hour
to
and
go
a half
out
video.
to go out of my way. Well, I don't feel the need to make. I mean, I'm not trying to single this one guy out, but I don't feel the need to make a video displaying my hatred for it, because I feel like that energy can go into other things, creating something. I don't want to sound cheesy or Hallmark, but creating something positive, something I want to make, rather than tearing up down something someone else made that I don't give a shit about.
I think also, with age sort of comes more positive thoughts, Because when you're a kid, you get kind of like that fanboyism.
You say like we're two old guys rocking on our porches, like kids these days, and they're honest trailers, and they're rotten tomatoes.
Well, just like it was once, as a kid, you kind of get like the fanboy thing, and you start to be... You almost think that by being kind of negative, it's sort of a positive thing. I think that might be, it's really like a mental problem.
I think that,
because when you're a kid, I remember being a kid though, and I always think, the one thing I always remember is being like, the fanboy thing. It's like, Nintendo's so much better than Xbox, like, fuck Xbox and fuck Master Chief.
We were both in that camp.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, right, man, me and Mario and Link are fucking hanging out. Fuck you. Oh yeah, well, Sonic can come along too. I really like Sega too. I mean, Sega, Nintendo, it's practically the same thing. That fucking war is over 10 years ago, bro. And then when you get kind of older, you're kind of like, well, fuck, bring Master Chief over here too and fucking bring his Xbox. He's a nice guy. Yeah, you should just talk to him. You guys got a lot in common.
Let Mass Effect come over too. They know there's a war. You guys
come over too.
Let's patch
Sony,
that shit
get your ass over here. Don't give me that look.
Bring Crash. Come on. Don't hold back.
I know he's had a few too many falls recently, but that's okay. He's still won the team.
Yeah, so eventually you just kind of reach that point where just no.
Good game's a good game, and you just call it a day at that.
Yeah, and there is that sense, Cracked.com had an article, this goes probably a little bit back, but they had an article saying kind of several horrible things that are becoming norms as far as I guess the geek or fan community. I don't remember what it was exactly. And one was a false sense of ownership to whatever it is you like. And he mentioned Resident Evil, for instance. He said look, when I was younger, I was a huge Resident Evil fan. When Resident Evil 4 was coming out and they mentioned they were changing this and changing that, I was fucking pissed. I was doing this, I was doing that. But at the end of the day, though, I couldn't remember the last time I bought a Resident Evil game. So what reason did I really have the bitch at the end of the day? So...
Well, I always feel sometimes when it does get things, you can only kind of complain, though, if you're sort of, putting a lot of money into something.
Yeah.
And even still, I kind of go, because the video games to me, everybody always wants to tell me video games are expensive. And I still look at video games and I'm like, you know what? They're still fucking a bargain price. Because here's the thing. Super Nintendo days, it costs $75 for a game, and fucking minimum wage is $4. Yeah. Are you telling me that a fucking $60 Xbox One or PS4 game is not a fucking bargain? Mm-hmm. Or a $50 Wii U game? I don't think... Are Wii U games $60? $60. I know I own a Wii U, but I'm asking you this.
They're expensive. Yeah, I was... Well, but to me, the other day I was looking at them. I almost bought one the other day, and they were $60, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the way I was looking at it is that's how I was kind of comparing. It's $60 for a game. And if it's a good game... You're almost kind of guaranteed about 20 hours, give or take.
Yeah.
A really good game might give you anywhere from 50 to 100 and something hours. Mm-hmm. And a shorter game might give you 10. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, that's a lot. A brand new movie is $20. That gives you, what, an hour and a half to 2 hours of movie, maybe a little bit more, maybe an extra hour of special features. And obviously, you'll get a little bit more replay out of that. And then I also look at comic book, retail price for a comic book's anywhere from $15 to $25, and what does that give you? About an hour's worth of entertainment.
Yeah.
A video game, by far, is the biggest bang for your buck. Mm-hmm. And if we look back in time, you're getting a hell of a deal, because they used to be so much more expensive.
It used to be $90 for Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah. That one was really expensive when it came out.
It's kind of trippy when you think about it.
When I was a kid, that was more, my parents would go okay, Which one out of the bargain bin do you want?
Why did it have? I mean, well, my brother, I was almost too young to play video games, and I would play whatever my brother played. Whenever he got, I played it. So when he got a Super Nintendo or whenever he got a Genesis, I'd play the games, and eventually, you know, like he had Super Mario World. That's what brought me into it, and that one came with the system, so I don't know. I'm not gonna count that one.
Yeah.
But I can imagine, like, I mean, back then, like, yeah, it was like $90 for a game we could now get for like $5 on like a downloadable like channel.
Yeah.
Which is trippy when you think about it.
It really is kind of weird. A lot of those games, if you have the original copy with the box and everything, you practically almost get the same price you paid for it back then.
Remember, this is going to be like something that no one else was there for, but whatever. I think they'll maybe find it kind of funny. Remember there's that one that one game shop in Modesto, and this place had to be a fucking front for some kind of like
the one that was
drug
on like La Lamona or...
It was off McHenry, I think. Yeah.
No, it wasn't off McHenry. It was on La Loma. That was what the street was called.
Maybe it was. Yeah, they're gonna fucking find us after they hear this. No, but no, when you go in there, and they had like this huge collection of retro and new games. But the thing is, like Mario,
they had everything you could possibly want, almost. But you went in there.
Mario,
I gotta set the stage up first.
Yeah.
You would go in there and you'd be looking at Super Nintendo games. You're like, holy fuck! There's all the Donkey Kongs. There's Chrono Trigger, every Final Fantasy, anything Square. You know, Mario, so on. And then
a
same
fuck ton
thing,
of used
fucking
DVDs
Sega
in the middle.
Saturn, Sega CD.
A fuck ton of used DVDs in the middle to flip through.
Dreamcast, anything. They had all kinds of stuff there. But the prices were so jacked up high.
And you go in there, you'd see like a Super Mario RPG for the SNES, and it was like $80. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what the fuck? And as soon as you walk in there, they had like some fucking like gangster rap playing, white dude in the beanie and like fucking like hoodie, arms crossed, thing. You just look like, the fuck you want? Like, video games? Oh, okay. You look around, you know. So you almost got that vibe as soon as you walked in there. And when you went in there, you bought something, they would almost give you this dirty ass look, like you jamming up my fucking customers, man. You're jamming up my real customers.
I bought a couple DVDs there because the DVDs were like reasonably priced. That was about the only thing. And it was just one of those ones like, now, here's
that place had to be a fucking front.
It had to be a front just for the way the guys looked and the way that they kind of ran. They just weren't that friendly. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even saying the price, because there was this other video game shop in Hayward. It's really cool to go into because it's kind of almost like going to a museum. You will see, I saw games in there I've never seen.
Cisco showed me that place.
I saw games there that I've never seen in real life with my own two eyes. Mm-hmm. You know, there was physical copies of stuff like Castlevania Dracula X. I've never seen that ever. I've seen it on eBay, but that doesn't fucking count. You know, but the lady had such high prices on most of this stuff. And her reason was that, like, when you buy a game from my shop, it's going to work perfect. And I'm going to make sure it's really good. And it's not going to be, you know, you're not going to get ripped off. That was the whole thing. But you were literally probably paying twice the price. I want to say that Castlevania Dracula X was like $200.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I kid you.
Was that for SNES or something?
You can buy one on eBay for like $100. You know, and her thing was like, well, yeah, you buy one on eBay, who knows it's going to work? I'm like,
holy fuck.
I'm like, well, yeah, it's going to work because that guy's seller rating is going to go down if it doesn't.
Yeah, that's still kind of like, that still seems kind of like a fuck you, where else you going to go kind of thing.
Well, at first I was like, because when I saw that, I was like, oh, fuck, if that's like I'll pay $75 for that because it's so rare. I'll pay that, you know.
$75, yeah.
I'd pay, if it was in the box, I'd pay $100. It sounds ridiculous, but like that's one of the only Castlevania games I don't own a physical copy of. You know, I own the one for PSP. That doesn't count though.
Do you have like what are they called? Do you have like a port of it or anything like that?
I got the ROM of it. That's
the ROM. There we go.
But like that's the only Castlevania
kids
games
in your RAMs
I don't have a physical copy of. So it's like for my collection, I really want that one. Mm-hmm. I was just like, yeah. I mean, it was probably $175 or $200. It was over $150. I'll tell you that. And there was a bunch of other ones. There were some sweet Sega Saturn games there and stuff too. But I was looking them up on eBay too. And I was just like, you know, it's in a store, so it's gonna be a little bit more on eBay. I know that already. Yeah. But you know, maybe $20 more. Not more than that. Like if I could buy a game on eBay for $50 and it was $60 there, I'd be like, whatever, that's fine. But Still, I will say though, that store though, it's worth just going to it just to look inside because I mean they got like every box for every system. You know, they got all kinds of these rare kind of like accessories and gadgets. I mean, and then just everything: Sega Saturn, Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo.
Sega Saturn, was that really like the actual system's pretty expensive themselves?
I bought mine for $5 like 12 years ago at a flea market
No,
in the
like,
box.
Like were the actual like Sega Saturns and SNES, and then in that particular store were they pretty expensive?
I think the system sort of would. I mean, I
I
remember
mean, the games.
Cisco bought a handful of N64 games, and they were all reasonably priced. They were like $15 or $20. And it's like that's how much they would have been on eBay almost. If you know, maybe $5 more, but kind of like that here and now thing. I'll pay $5 more for here and now.
Yeah.
But and plus you get to see it and whatnot. But yeah, I was so amazed. It's just like it's one thing to be a little bit more expensive because I know it's a store. In a store you can always charge
doubling the price.
But yeah, but almost like doubling it or even like a thirding the price all the way up.
I don't want to be this guy. I mean, I'm not saying fuck mom and pop businesses. I'm not saying that by any means. But by that point, it is kind of one of those things like I'm gonna go fucking somewhere else because I mean they might as well just go to fucking eBay by that point.
Yeah, well, it's because like, it's a cool store. I'm not too sure exactly how they must sell enough new games or something like that. Because if you made enough money off just selling brand new games and people pre-ordering them and stuff like that, that probably works. That you could kind of keep all this stuff and just kind of have it there.
That is almost kind of like I'll say this about like used game stores. I mean, granted they're all chain now, but like
well, sadly, I mean, like this is like one of the only few ones you get anymore. It's like they just don't exist anymore because you know GameStop stopped carrying classic games 7-8 years ago.
Well, there's that time where you go to say a Funko Land or an EB Games or OG GameStop, and you go in there and you would see like and this is to younger people listening, this won't mean shit, but to us, you'd see like an SNES like light gun in a plastic Ziploc bag hanging on a hook, or you'd see old NES games and like that almost brought back so much nostalgia.
Well, for the longest time, GameStop and all of its buddy kind of places or whatever
would sell that retro stuff.
They still carried older games. They carried older games forever. They carried Atari games for a long time. They carried regular Nintendo games. It was only I want to say 5 or 6 years ago that they really just said like, bam, they're we're just sticking to modern. I mean, like nowadays, you can't even go in there and buy a GameCube game anymore. You can't even buy an Xbox game. You could still buy a PS2 game, but that's about as old as it gets.
Yeah.
And before it was like
the PS2 game's like $4 at most.
And it's more just like that. You could just tell that they've just been the same ones that have been sitting there for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, come on, it's like, I feel like somebody's got to jump on like the classic games kind of like market. I know that like, I don't know, you couldn't probably make a corporation out of it, but
well,
it's like...
I guess at the same time when you think about it, though, I mean, there's you and me, but, I mean, how often did you really go in there and buy all the classic stuff you saw? Did you buy...
I've always been somebody, I bought more classic than I ever did new.
I could think of going in there and buying a handful of miscellaneous... I never went in... Actually, no. Once I went in there and bought an NES for my brother... for like Christmas and bought like 2 games that I remember he liked playing a lot for like nostalgia and all that. But generally, I remember going in there and bought maybe 3 or 4 like old 64 games at most. Really.
Oh, I remember like I would always go in there and I'd pick up some Super Nintendo games every once in a while.
I guess if you didn't have the systems, then
well, yeah, if you don't have the system, I don't know why you'd be buying.
Unless you actually bought the system, like I said, I bought the NES for my brother for Christmas one year.
Because in like the places I didn't really shop at GameStop as much. I mean, I shopped at all the local like mom and pop.
I'm thinking Players Kingdom.
Yeah, Players Kingdom and Pro Game Exchange, and like I bought way more Super Nintendo games and Sega Genesis games that like I just didn't get when I was a kid, like much later on. I mean, up until the 2000s, I was still buying all kinds of games that like I never played this one. I'd buy a lot of N64 games, Sega Saturn games, Sega CD games. There was still a bunch, especially Dreamcast games. I kept buying those all the way up until they finally started disappearing.
This is kind of an obvious statement right here, but I think what happened with that was I think a lot of the big distributors realized, you know what? We got all these people buying retro stuff. We can just sell the retro stuff at them for a cheap price, and they can just download it right to their shit.
Well,
that's kind of.
you know what I mean?
I know it's an obvious statement.
Well, what happened there though? It's more that I think Nintendo and then everybody else, Sony, Sega, all those guys, they kind of went like, well, here's the thing, we haven't made a single dollar off Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Super Mario World in like a long time because we sold all our brand new copies. 1996 was probably the last time we sold them. And for the last 15 years, people have been, or maybe less than that, 10 years, people have been just buying used copies. That's where they keep getting them from. So and they start off kind of making things like Sonic Mega Collection and what like that. That was a way to make money off Sonic 2 and the old one.
Which I'll say, Sega's a bunch of evil bastards for that, because I bought Sonic Mega Collection, and then for the Nintendo DS, because Mega Collection, they make you work to get Knuckles in Sonic 2.
Honestly, you have to beat the game, or you have to start the game 150 times or something weird like that.
To get Knuckles in Sonic 2 and Knuckles in Sonic 3. But then that one, it's just if you just buy the one for the Nintendo DS...
Even though 6-7 years later, but
6-7 years later, yeah, I know.
More than that even.
if you just buy that one, you just play them right off the bat. Or it's kind of like in the one for the Xbox. The option's not even there.
They don't have. That's the only downfall of the Sega collection for the Xbox. They don't have the Knuckles, and I don't really care about Knuckles in Sonic 2. That's cool, and I do like playing that. But if that's not in there, it's not the biggest loss to me. But I like the Sonic 3 with Knuckles. I like to be continuous all the way through.
Yeah, that's my
Now, once again, is it the biggest deal? Not necessarily, because I could beat Sonic 3 and then just start playing Sonic and Knuckles. But still.
Sonic 3 and
I like playing with Sonic and Tails together, though.
Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles is pretty much the use your illusions of video games.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying, I cut you off, sorry.
I can't remember what I was saying.
You were saying,
but I think I think
yeah.
so what Nintendo and all those guys and PlayStation and everybody, even Xbox, you can even say, they said, well, here's the thing, we could sell downloads of our old games, we can start making money off old video games. Because you think about it, Nintendo and probably everybody else, especially Sega, half their profits probably come from Virtual Console and things like that. Because one thing, it's like, okay, these games don't cost money to make because we made them a long time ago, so we can just sell them at $5 a piece. Don't have to do any shipping. Don't have to do any printing. Don't have to make a cartridge or anything like that. And we just get $5 just instantaneously.
Makes total sense. You can even get those old Sonic games on your iPhone this day and age.
Yeah, I know. You get Sonic. You can get on anything.
I
own
really,
more copies of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 than I do any other game by far.
Sonic really is their dirty blue-haired slut by this point, who's gonna, whether it's good or bad, it's gonna make some fucking money for him.
Well, yeah, it's like Sonic or Sega probably lives off Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. Like that right there probably makes, because it's on every platform.
And for the first 2 months, whatever Sonic game they release.
Yeah. But I'm saying though, it's like, because these games, though, I mean, like, they obviously made their money back in 1996. Mm-hmm. So these games have just kept making money ever since then, over and over and over and over again. I mean, how many do you think, when they released it on, like, an iPhone or an Android or a Windows phone, how many people download it right away? You know what I mean? And then download it again for the next thing. And then, I mean, I got Sonic Mega Collection. Not only do I have them for Sega Genesis, I got the Xbox Collection. I got the DS Collection. I got it on my phone. I got it on my Wii.
Yeah.
I got a lot of copies of Sonic.
Now I'm just looking at it. I'm reminded of like my age when I just see this new rebranding they're doing of Sonic, and not just like Sonic. Like it's a new Sonic video game. I just mean because aren't they literally rebranding Sonic now and trying to reboot the whole thing to a certain extent with the Sonic?
The Sonic Boom. Yeah.
Because they come out with the cartoon, they're coming out with a new game, and I actually stopped and watched the trailer for the cartoon, and it really
it's different.
It really makes me feel old. Well, it's kind of one of those things. I feel like I don't really have a. Let me put it this way. I've been spending money on Sonic for a while. I did not buy Lost World. I did not buy that Black Knight bullshit. But I spent money on Sonic for a while. Mm. At the same time, I'm a realist about it. I understand that it's a kid's thing. But like Sonic, all right, I'm going to put it this way. I think Mario's done a good job of moving forward for the most part.
Yeah, it's kind of been in standstill for a while.
For the last few years, been in standstill. But apparently, the new one for the Wii, the brand new one, like Mario
World
3D World, whatever, it's supposed to be a really good game. But for a while, Mario's been kind of doing the 2D standstill. But for the most part, Mario's been moving forward, making solid games, keeping the original audience, still bringing in kids, which good for Nintendo. Sonic's been at the point where it's slowly been losing its original audience and just going for the kids, which whatever makes money, I guess. But the new thing, though, it's kind of weird. It is almost kind of like when like Devil May Cry came out, DMC, and they're like
the fifth one.
Yeah, and like Dante has black hair now. People are like, Dante has black hair. Fuck you! And I was just like, dude, chill the fuck out. Just play the game first.
See, I kind of felt like that though, because the other thing to me is like, I really like the way Dante looks. I want to
Yeah.
think that like maybe if I can become a demon, I can somehow achieve half of what he has.
Well, at first I thought.
And then when I see that, it's like, oh well, you're clearly not shooting for my target audience anymore.
Well, at first I thought it was a prequel. That's what I thought it was for the longest time. But apparently it was a reboot. I thought it was a prequel.
And the reboot's kind of like the double like edged sword. It's like, oh, it's a reboot too.
But who knows? I mean, here are the games. I hear.
Well,
everyone
I hear
talk-
the I've heard the game's great, and the game probably is great, but. It's not my target. Let's just say this. It's shooting for a different audience other than me. They don't want people like me who are like, yeah, man, get some long hair, bro, and give him a guitar.
Well, going back to that though,
He's got an obsession with pizza. That's just like me.
He was kind of like a teenage.
80s.
He was kind of like a teenage mutant Ninja turtle when you stop and
He
think
really
about
was.
it.
And that, to me, it's like I felt like, oh, he's shooting for like the '90s
I
generation.
mean, when he's surfing on a missile, like woohoo, yeah, bro.
Oh yeah, woo!
Because the first one he was like, I'm Dante. I'm
serious.
First one he's like, I'm a well-balanced badass. Second one, like, I'm so badass I only say 2 sentences in this whole fucking game. And the third one, it's kind of
I'm
like,
a kid, bro. It's '90s.
yeah, it was.
I just picture me in the '90s because it's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel to like 2000 or
He's
2001.
He's surfing on a fucking missile, eating pizza, saying one-liners, not wearing a shirt, wearing a fucking trench coat. It's the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. And then
So this new one's just like those ones like you cut his hair off. Like,
the number 4 was a jump back to number 1.
or no, 4. I mean number 5.
Number 4 was like a jump back. That's how he is in number 1. That's fine. I think that's the perfect Dante.
Yeah, that's gonna.
1 and 4, that's the way I imagine Dante. This one, some punk rocker, looks kind of homeless, short hair, whatever.
Looks like a gutter punk.
I gotta play it before I judge it. I mean, I heard it was good.
Here's the
It
thing, I'm
looks
not saying gameplay wise, it's probably great. Probably one of the better ones out of all of them. I just look at like look wise, and then also because like it's a reboot. It's like it's like a Spider-Man reboot. It's like it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly.
Devil May Cry's only been out for like 10 or 12 years by now. I guess 14 years. Fuck, 14 years.
Don't tell me that. Fuck. Don't fucking tell me. Don't fucking tell me that. No, but
That makes you feel old.
yeah,
I remember when Devil May Cry was like
that's half my.
when Devil May Cry was originally supposed to be Resident Evil 4.
That's almost not. It's not. It's not. But that's almost half my life. Fuck. Why'd you say that? It's already Valentine's Day. I'm already fucking like depressed.
okay. Dante's here to share it with you.
But no. But anyway,
He'll cut up with you as long as you got a nice warm pizza.
nice warm pizza and some fucking Captain Morgan's, which I'm out of. Anyway, but no. Anyway, but no. I understand after seeing the Sonic Boom trailer, going back to that. I kind of understand. And I feel stupid because it's kind of like some of the small things, like Sonic's arm aren't skin toned anymore. They're blue now. What the fuck? You know? And then it was like, the whole thing, it's not like something as stylish as his hair isn't long and white anymore. It's like his arms. They're not skin colored anymore. They're blue colored.
It's like it's just
It just throws you off. And then
just too different.
there's some stuff that I think
Well,
works.
it's like Mario if he was in the next game and you're like, his mustache is shaved. Or he's got just a goatee now. It would just be too weird.
Or it's like one of those things. I'm not gonna let that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna get the game, but it's one of those things.
Or it's like the fucking Chuck E. Cheese mouse nowadays. It's just like one of those ones like when I see that, it's like they don't want me coming there anymore.
I don't think they wanted you going there 10 years ago.
Still, to me, it's like those ones like, why does he have? Where's that backwards baseball cap in the jersey? That's the one
Where's
I know.
the knee pads? So you know he likes to skate, but he's at least safe about it.
Now he's playing guitar. He's probably doing drugs too, for all I know.
That fucking mouse heathen. But no. On top of that, there's some things about his new design which I think look cool. Like, okay, there's like the blue arms, which kind of throw me off. I don't know.
Maybe the scarves.
The scarf look. All right, here's the thing. All right, let me work little by little. He has randomly wrapped kind of like bandages around his like gloves and part of his arm, which that looks kind of cool. I don't know why. I think the whole bandages kind of around the part of his shoe and the arms, that looks kind of cool. Like maybe like a Street Fighter or something like that. Medical tape, bandages, whatever they are. It looks kind of interesting. The idea of the scarf looks cool, but here's the thing. I mean, this is going to sound so much like, the thing about
Ryu Hayabusa wears a scarf. I mean, he pulled it off.
Scarf's cool. I just think because the shoes, this is going to sound so fucking weird. This just comes from reading too many kind of like graphic design books and studying graphic design. But my thing is kind of like the scarf is brown, but his shoes are still red.
You think the scarf should be red too?
I think the scarf should be red. I think it holds it all together because you got a brown scarf and then red shoes. Beforehand he had red shoes with nothing to match it against. I guess maybe just saying it just didn't bother me. Maybe I'm thinking, America! Maybe I thought that. I don't know. In the 90s. But I just think, give it something to match. So overall, the scarf, fine. The only one, the scarf, fine. The only thing that really throws me off is the blue arms. Well, that sounds so stupid to anybody who doesn't give a shit.
Because by having like the skin-colored arms, that makes him pop in the games. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's kind of like so he doesn't just look like a big blue mass running down the road. Yeah,
I think the scarf should be red, and I'm not gonna fucking really judge it too hard. People are like, listen to this fucking nerd complaining with a colorful
Well, you
scarf.
should see how much people have been complaining. People have been complaining so hard about that. Like it's good. It's good to the point where Sega might even go like, oh,
we should hold back on this.
Yeah, maybe we should go for a more classic look.
I'm thinking. Well, my thing is just because it holds it all together. It's got Big Lebowski. Well, the rug really held the room together. The scarf, if it was red, I think it would match the shoes, and it matches. Not that it fucking matters. I know there's way more important things going on, like in Syria and like other parts of the fucking world. So trust me, this is not the top of my concerns by any means. But just it
is a big concern, though. But it's up there.
It's not the biggest concern, but it's one of those things that just kind of like I just after looking at basic design stuff, I just think the red would bring it in, just give something to match.
I kind of realize like less different colors kind of like works better, meshes better.
Tails looks fine. Amy, I don't give a fuck either way.
Knuckles could be
barrel-chested Knuckles looks a little weird to me, but
not the worst. But it's like I don't know.
It looks kind of like you said some people from old Naughty Dog are on it, but I was like, it looks kind of like a Jack and Daxter kind of thing.
And then right when you mentioned that, I was like, well, yeah, but there's some Naughty Dog guys on there.
And it's one of those things like, I don't know, I can't judge it till I actually play the game. We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping for the best. I don't want it to do bad. It's one of those things like, we'll just see what happens. The dubstep in the trailer of the video game kind of threw me off a little bit.
It's okay. It's one I'll just say, if they can just pull off really good gameplay, I think everything will. I think I'll just accept everything else. That's kind of. It's really easy to look at one screenshot and go like, fuck that.
Well, it looked like parts of the game.
No, give me my childhood back.
Well, it looked like parts of the game, because before when I mentioned Sonic Boom, the cartoon, like a few podcasts ago, I believe it was Turkey Holocaust. When I mentioned that a few podcasts back, I mentioned the Sonic Boom cartoon, and in the article, there was like a silhouette of the way the characters look now. Uh-huh. I assumed that was just for the cartoon. I saw barrel-chested Knuckles, and they're just silhouettes of the characters.
Yeah.
I just assumed that was for the cartoon. When I actually saw that was for the game, I was kind of like, wait, what? But now maybe it's
the one thing I can assume is that Sega's just kind of going like, fuck, what can we do now? This one's like, no. Just make Sonic.
I think they're changing too much. I think that's.
It's just. I think what they really need to do is say take what makes Sonic 1 through 4 or 1 through Knuckles really good. Keep all those characters. Don't have any other characters. Just keep those characters. And I say throw a story in there. I'm totally fine with story. That doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, story's fine.
I like story. But make it more like Sonic Adventure, though. But still, just stick with those characters, though. Don't change it from Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. That's it.
Let me correct what I said a little bit ago when I say they're changing too much. What I mean by that is every game, it seems like they're kind of saying back to the drawing board when they should be saying
let's go back to what we originally drew.
Well, that could always work, like Sonic 4 Episode 2.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. I think that game's just since it's called Episode 2, I think that throws people off, and they think it's like a sequel or something.
And they're already discouraged by Episode 1.
Yeah.
But, even though Episode 1 was fine, but, for the most part.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, though they keep on doing, even though that would be fine, they keep on saying, well, we fucked up that one, let's start all over again.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no. Stop and look at what you did right in the last one.
And put a pro and con list.
Elaborate on that rather than trying to reinvent the wheel every game.
I gotta fuck. You know what? I was watching Warner Brothers cartoons not that long ago. Looney Tunes was on TV probably the other day. And as a kid, this used to always bother me. Because when you watch, say, Wile E. Coyote, and he's always trying to get the Roadrunner.
My favorite character.
And I've always, in all those Warner Bros. Cartoons, I've always kind of been on the guy who's getting fucked over.
Elmer Fudd's.
Because, mostly in Warner Bros. Cartoons, it's always like, douchebag and a guy who's trying really hard, and he never succeeds. But as a kid, I was always like, we went, well, why doesn't Wile E. Coyote just try that same thing he just did again, but fix all the problems? Like, I was like, I'm like a problem solver with like a cartoon character from the 40s. But as a kid, that really bothered me. But you know what? That's fucking Sega, though. They're like Wile E. Coyote. They just keep trying something new every single time, and they don't realize, like, why don't I just fix this Acme missile and try that one more time? I think I got it down this time. I see why it blew up on me like last time, but we're not going to have that happen again.
That's a beautiful analogy, especially because Wile E. Coyote was always my favorite Looney Tune. So.
He's my favorite one, too.
Yeah.
I relate with that guy. That's like...
You keep trying, but you keep fucking up. Like, he just wants to fucking eat. At the end of the day, that's all he fucking wants.
Guys trying and he tries really...
Maybe he's got... I cannot imagine the fucking problem that guy has with loans always going to Acme.
I know. If he just keeps going back, then it's like he's either got really good credit there or something like that.
Is that the last fucking Roadrunner in existence, or is there like more than one Roadrunner?
He is in the desert, so maybe there isn't that much left.
I remember there was a video game, the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote video game, and you could play as one or the other. I'm like, fuck the Roadrunner. I'm not playing as the fucking Roadrunner.
Wile E. Coyote, we're gonna succeed.
Granted, it's a very selfish viewpoint when you think about it. Like, fucking bird won't just lay over and die so this guy can fucking eat. It's a very selfish viewpoint when you think about it, but fuck it, you sympathize with fucking
Roadrunner.
Yeah.
Coyote. But yeah, that's the thing though. That's what Sega's gotta do. Is they just gotta take make a pro and con list and just go with it.
I switched to water now, so we'll see how this goes.
But that's probably a good.
It's an old cantina. There's actually rust floating around. I just noticed that.
In your Sonic thing?
I have the Sonic the Hedgehog cantina.
I can't imagine it being rust. It's probably made out of stainless steel.
There's stuff floating around in it.
You just probably haven't washed it.
Okay, well, let's hope the best.
It's probably like...
Rust can't give you cancer, can it?
They're not going to get rust in, like, I don't think that's stainless steel.
Rust cancer?
They're not going to make a container that rusts that you're going to put water in every single day of your life.
Mm. Well, this is the water been sitting here for, like, a few months, but, podcast is still going, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's going to be fine. I mean,
we'll be fine.
If that thing rusted...
I'm not going to wake up with rust cancer.
People would be suing whoever makes that Sonic the Hedgehog cup.
Okay.
It's not Sega, it's probably some other company.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good place to leave off. Check out oldmanorange.com. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes.
I'll have a Twitter eventually.
And until then, we will see you some other time.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.